Okie doke. We ready to go? Okay, let's get the show on the road. Good morning and welcome to the June 2026 public board meeting of the Washington State Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs. My name is Ken Okosai. I am the chair of the CAPAA board. The time is 9:05 and I'm officially calling this meeting to order. This meeting is held virtually via Zoom, and you can visit our website for the agenda and Zoom link. We will hold public comments this morning, sometime around 9:10, maybe a little bit later now. For those wishing to submit public comment and are online, please message staff via the Zoom chat with your name. You'll have 2 minutes with a reminder to wrap up your comments upon 30 seconds left. And then to submit written comments, you may email them to capaa@capaa.wa.gov. And you can message Brenda or Nagin or Executive Director Nam if you'd like as well. CAPAA was established to bring voice and visibility to the diverse Asian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities that Washington State calls home, or that they call Washington State home. We advise the governor, state legislature, and all other state agencies on issues of importance to our communities, particularly as it relates to state laws, policies, and programs that impact them. And we host 5 public board meetings each year to conduct official business. At this time, we will call the roll, which serves as a record of attendance for the public board meeting. As a reminder, per agency policy, any commissioner who with 2 unexcused or 3 excused absences in a 12-month period will be asked to resign. As we go around, I'll ask commissioners and staff to please identify themselves by name, pronoun, and the county in which they live. So I will start. And my name is Ken Okosai. I use he, him pronouns, and I represent Pierce County on the commission. How about we go to Commissioner Fongsa?
Good morning. My name is David Pongsa, he, him pronouns, and I'm representing Benton County.
Thank you. How about Commissioner Ping?
Good morning, 早上好. My name is Ping Ping, and I am she and her. I represent Spokane County. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Leasing.
Good morning, magandang umaga. I'm Anna Leasing. I use she, she pronouns representing King County.
Thank you. Commissioner Lehrman.
Good morning, Scott Lerman representing Franklin County, he, him pronouns.
And then Commissioner McKenna.
Kaya Manuia, everybody. Good morning. My name is Kiana McKenna. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm representing Spokane. And very sorry I can't be on camera today. If I fall off, I'll pop back on, I promise.
Thank you, Commissioner McKenna. And we're thinking about our friends across the state who are dealing with the wildfires, not only in Spokane County, but also, in Yakima County as well. So thinking about you all. Okay, maybe we'll take a moment to also introduce the staff as well. Interim Executive Director Nguyen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Nam Nguyen, Director of the Commission.
Thank you, Nam. How about Nagin? If not, that's okay. We can go to Brenda too.
Good morning. My name is Brenda O'Brien. I'm the project coordinator for CAPAA.
Great. Okie doke. Oh, and then Nagin, I saw you.
Hi, Nagin Concar, project manager for CAPAA. My internet is also stable and I keep dropping.
Thank you, Nagin. Alrighty. So just to note that we have a couple commissioners that are absent today, but maybe they'll pop in a little bit. But we currently do have quorum. Next is and then we'll start with the approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to amend it. Or are there any? Yes, thank you for bringing it up. Hope folks have an opportunity to review it. Are there any amendments or changes to the agenda that anyone would like to make? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Chair Fongsa, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, thank you.
Or sorry, Chair Kosai.
It's all good. All good. We promoted Commissioner Fongsa. So there's a motion to approve the agenda. Can I get a second, please?
I can second. I'm Ping.
Commissioner Ping, thank you. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
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 All oppose? Abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much. The agenda is approved. All right, so now we will move on to the approval of the minutes, which were sent out earlier this week. Again, the minutes can be seen online as well. Does anyone have any amendments, any changes to the agenda that they'd like to make before we move to moving it for a vote here? Okay, thank you for bringing it up. Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our March board meeting.
I move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I can second. This is Kiana.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? All right, the motion carries. All righty, thank you very much for bearing with me on the administrative part. So we're right around time now. So it's time for public comment. So public comment is an opportunity for the public to provide any updates or anything that the commission should know.
This is Ray Pasqua. Hello.
Oh, hi. Hey, Ray. One moment. Well, I think we'll let me just get through this like formality part and then we'll call on you, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, it's all good. So again, we are now entering the public comment portion of our meeting where we can hear from members of the public. At the beginning of this meeting, we ask interested members of the public to please message in the chat to sign up for public comment. Staff will call out those names in order. If you just logged on, it's not too late to sign up. And then at the end of public comment, I will call for any remaining speakers we may have missed before concluding. Just to note, each person has 2 minutes to submit public comment with a chime reminder at 30 seconds left. If you run over time, you may be cut off, but if staff can please share the first names on our list, perhaps. But we'll go with Tito Ray otherwise.
We don't have any requests for public comment.
Okay. Mr. Pasqua, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. This is Ray Pasqua, Commissioner Emeritus of the Commission. I just wanted to congratulate the Commission for its 50 years of work on behalf of the Asia Pacific Americans in Washington State. I wanted you to know, though, about several initiatives that I am working on. One is a unfortunate one, but is necessary. With the word about the former leader of the United Farm Workers that came out in late March this year, it became important for people of the Filipino American community to remind people of the contributions of the Filipino American farm worker leaders throughout the United States. So we have renamed an effort, we're calling it Reclaiming the Filipino American Leadership in the Farm Workers Union. They include Lariat Leong, Philip Veracruz, and Peter Velasco. I have had a discussion with Governor Ferguson, and he has assigned a staffer, and we will be working on some effort to do something for Filipino American History Month in this year. Secondly, about Filipino American history, the National Filipino American History Conference is in Washington, D.C. from July 20th to the 24th. And the national organization has decided to honor Fred and Dorothy Cordova of Seattle, the founders of the Filipino American Historical Society, in October, on October 18th, as national heroes. And then finally, I hope to, that the commission continues its wonderful work and thank Executive Director Nam for his service. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ray. Really appreciate the update. Is there anyone else that would like to provide public comment at this time? No pressure. Okay. All good. You're always welcome to provide written comment or put things in the chat. We'll take that as well. So with that being said, that concludes the public comment period of our agenda. And then I did see an additional commissioner jump on just a few seconds ago. Commissioner Sisavati, do you want to introduce yourself? And you're on mute, so.
Svati. Apologies, I thought I had the meeting at 10, but I am here. Really grateful to be here, and thank you. Commissioner X Svati from King County.
Okie doke. Thank you very much. And with that being said, we're going to move on to our staff report. I'm going to toss it over to Interim Executive Director Nguyen to give a staff report.
Okay. I'll make this quick. So we're closing in to the end of the fiscal year, and CAPAA Finance is in good financial condition. We're spending under budget for fiscal year 2026. Fiscal year 2027 will start on July 1st. That means our budget starts over. Any money that we have not spent by the end of this fiscal year will go back to the general fund, which is, I believe right now, can't estimate it, but probably around $4,000 to $5,000 that we're giving back to the general fund. The state legislature passed the biennium of the supplemental budget, $80 billion. There's some increase for education. There's the passage of the millionaire tax. The legislature did provide CAPAA with $450,000 to provide navigation for COFA community members to obtain real ID. Utopia Washington is our contractor in this regard, and we'll present later on the agenda. There's a predicted shortfall for fiscal year 2028. The anticipated shortfall is it's about 800 million to possibly over $1 billion at this point. Department of Revenue will provide a report on how much revenue is generated that may bring the shortfall up or down, likely up. So the governor has asked all state agencies to save money or come up with a proposal on how to save money to meet the shortfall. And the millionaire tax does not affect the shortfall. Fund from the millionaire tax, even if it's past court challenge or initiative and referendum, will not be in the budget until 2029. This is the same item from the last report, which is appointment. We moved the appointment process back a month. The deadline to appoint is July 1st, and that's because we did not receive many applications from East. Actually, we did not receive any application from Eastern or Central Washington. And since Commissioner Ping has decided not to unfortunately reapply, we do need somebody from either Central and Eastern Washington. However, the good news is that we received 22 applications, which is above average. Usually we receive about a dozen every time, but through our marketing, we have received a good number, and there's a good number of interest. I think there's a lot of strong applicant, but one of our mandate is to represent the state and not just Western Washington. So we are looking out to bring in more people from that side of the mountain. CAPAA partnered with the Women's Commission to host a seminar for AA and HBI History Month. Unfortunately, we were not able to do this live, so we instead had hosted online, and it's currently on our website. The Women's Commission, thanks to the Women's Commission, it's a workshop on how to start a business and apply for business loan, as well as other business tips. If you want access, the link is in the staff report or on our website. CAPAA is also partnering with the Governor Office on an activation plan called Forward Washington. The activation is on immigration. We're meeting with community leaders, local officials around the state on the immigration issue and forming a network so that collaboration continue after the meeting. This is to address any uptick in immigration enforcement by the federal government, any out of bound enforcement of immigration by the federal government. We started in Bellingham. Commissioner Malia Diolio was a participant in that meeting with the community. But next month in July, we are moving to central meeting in Central and Eastern Washington mid-July. This includes, and we sent out to invite. We will send out invite in July on July 4th, around July 4th or 5th, to the commissioner who lives in those areas. And we were able, and thank you for the commissioner for giving us names for our local community leaders to invite. Finally, the governor office has posted the executive director position and will conduct first review of application on June 24th, 2000 that's actually next week. So if anybody's interested in the position or know someone interested in the position, please pass the position along. I am more than happy to talk to anybody who wants to apply, as I am not applying myself. CAPAA will likely have a new director in the next 2 months. At most, probably 3 or 4, but it depends on who applies and how long the process takes. We never know these things. So that's all for the report. Our next meeting is in Tri-City, hosted by Commissioner Lerman and Commissioner Fangsa. After that will be King County. We have not determined the site. Any questions?
Yes, Commissioner Lerman.
And you may have said this at the last meeting. I remember we kind of brought it up, but the money, the $450,000 for the real ID, do we have a strategy or plan to what that money is, how that money is going to be used, or is that a future decision by executive team?
No, that money is actually already allocated. It was originally last year. It was in the biennium budget. It was $300,000 budget proviso given the CAPAA. We subcontracted with Utopia Washington, who we presented later on in the program, and then they'll explain how what's happening with the grant right now. They are our grant manager. This budget proviso just adds on top of the $300,000.
Okay,
and
we
it's just
knew,
an
we knew.
amendment, just changing the amount.
Okay, thanks.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, so just 2 things I just wanted to double click on in the staff report. Number 1 is that, yes, we are continuing to seek appointments for commissioners with a special emphasis on Eastern and Central Washington. So those of you that represent Central and Eastern Washington really need your help here in ensuring that we get great diversity in the geographic areas of the state that we represent. As well. So, and that goes for those that are also on this call or in this meeting that are from Eastern and Central Washington that are not necessarily commissioners already. So please continue to push that out. We have another 10 days to get that going. And then the other piece that I just wanted to note is the open executive director position. First, I'd like to just thank interim executive director Wynn for his continued service and working with the commission and making sure that things kind of continue to keep moving. So thank you very much. Really appreciate all your work. And yes, the position went out last week, and we continue to take applications. And the CAPAA Executive Committee will work really closely with the governor's office on the appointment or the hiring of that position as well. So if you have folks in your network, please continue to send it out via your emails and your social media and everything else in between. So, but we continue to take applications through the 24th is our first review, but I believe that if you don't meet that, we'll continue. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I think it will stay open after then too.
Yeah, it will stay open until the position is closed. First review just looks at the application, and then if they think there's a need to be more applicants, they'll continue the posting.
Yeah, absolutely. Any questions? Anything else? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to legislative updates. I will toss it over to Program Manager Nagin, as well as Second Vice Chair Leasing.
Thank you. Niki's having internet connectivity issues, so she is sharing her screen. Nagin, I don't know if you want to try to give a presentation, otherwise I can just jump in. All right, I'm going to assume that I'll just take lead. Yeah, you can move on to the next slide. We just wanted to give a quick update. At our March board meeting, we provided an update on the bills that we were able to help pass that we had marked as a priority for CAPAA under the package we labeled Protect Washingtonians. A lot of bills focused around immigration protections and curbing federal overreach. This is just a quick snapshot of the bills that passed as a reminder of which ones we identified as a priority for CAPAA and that we were advocating for. Several of these bills have already taken effect. So Nagin and NEM had reached out to the implementing lead state agencies to check on the status of implementation. So just as a quick snapshot of, as you can see, many of these bills just took effect. So agencies are still figuring out like next steps. We also have Nate Olson from the governor's office giving an update later in this meeting on a few of the ICE enforcement and data privacy bills. Just a quick reminder, the millionaire tax, that will not be taking effect until 2028. And we also are aware of some ballot initiative measures to try and repeal this tax. So that's something for us to watch and give an update on. I think they're still collecting signatures to even be able to bring it for public initiative. And we did support the millionaire tax. And so we'll keep an update for folks as to how that public initiative effort to repeal it is progressing. For we have two updates. Other bills we're still kind of waiting to hear as state agencies develop their guidance. And apologies for the kind of not smooth presentation right now, doing this a little bit on the fly. I think we had House Bill 2105, which requires state agencies, employers to notify workers and former workers if there is a notice of inspection of employment eligibility, the I-9s from the federal government. So essentially, if the federal government is requesting employers to provide I-9 information about their employees to check immigration status, House Bill 2105 required that the employers notify impacted employees and former employees within 72 hours, and also that they couldn't voluntarily consent to employers couldn't voluntarily consent to giving federal agencies access to this information. The Attorney General's office is currently in the process of developing guidance for employers on how to comply with this. So we'll give you an update. That is all still very much in the works at the moment. And then the other update we have is Senate Bill 5925, which is giving the Attorney General's office additional tools to be able to issue civil investigative demands to produce documents and answer questions whenever there's a possible violation to constitutional rights, both U.S. Constitution and Washington state constitutional rights. The AG's office is developing those, but then they won't have further updates as any implementation will be involving active ongoing investigations, which they can't publicly comment on. So that's just the quick update that 5925 is currently being developed and implemented. The implementation protocols are already being developed by the Attorney General's office. And then, as I mentioned, Nate Olson from the governor's office will have a few updates on the ICE enforcement and data privacy protections bills. And that's all I have so far.
Great. Thank you. First of all, thank you for your work. Any questions or comments?
Just one other comment. Just huge thanks to Nagin also for continuing to track these bills. This I think is a little bit of a shift from what we've done in the past, and the legislative committee at CAPAA has taken a much more proactive approach on legislative session in advancing bills, and now is taking the additional steps to make sure that we're also following up on implementation and making sure that the results that we are hoping for in passing this legislation come to fruition. So just it's very much a team effort, and appreciate everybody's help in continuing to, hold each other accountable and ensure that we're delivering the outcomes that our communities deserve.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I may take a moment of personal privilege or executive privilege here to perhaps maybe call on Angeli, who I think is on the call. If there's any updates from Make Us Visible, I know that we passed public comment, but we'll make an exception here to see if there's anything you wanted to share with the group. Hi,
Hey
Angeli.
there, good morning. Thank you. I don't have any updates in as much as any specific steps, but we have been having some good conversations, specifically with Senator Riccelli, who is the Senate Majority Floor Leader this past session, and he provided some good suggestions. We're going to be implementing some of those, some of the guidance that he provided in terms of speaking to specific groups within the legislature, and also seeking a House companion bill, perhaps to garner more support. And we have some other strategies, and another group has also approached us with potentially adding language or that community into the bill, but we're going to be speaking with the larger coalition of advocates to see what the pulse is on that. And we had a great community mixer and conversation recently at the end of May, with a panel of speakers, and I think that was very productive and encouraging. So, these next few months are going to be used towards really building that broader and deeper support. So please stay tuned, and thank you, CAPAA, for your continued support in the efforts towards complete history education.
Thanks, Angeli, for continuing your work. Trying to keep the momentum up after a very successful year. So, any questions, comments? Okay. All right. Thank you so much. We are pretty far ahead in our agenda, but Adriana, I know you're here. Is it okay if we start your portion a little bit early?
Yes, that is fine.
Okay. So we are going to move to our next piece on the agenda, which is the update on COFA Real ID work. And so Adriana Sululai, is that how you pronounce your last name? Great. Is the Policy and Advocacy Director at Utopia, Washington. And so Adriana will give us a update there. Take it away.
Talofa, everyone. My name is Adriana. Thank you for having me. Happy Pride. If you haven't done so already, please find an opportunity to support the different groups, but also organization that centers queer, trans, Asian Pacific Islanders here in the state of Washington. I'm happy to present on some of the amazing efforts. So as we all know, this budget proviso was the outcome of what grassroots work looks like for a lot of our NHPI community, especially our COFA community. So this grant cycle started towards the end of September. Funding was distributed across the state of Washington to the various different organizations who already have the base and are currently serving our COFA community. A lot of the ways that this funding was allocated was based on where that there was a high population of our community are based off here in the Puget Sound area, down in the Vancouver, and especially in Spokane. Though the budget proviso was written in a way that it would serve the entire state of Washington, a lot of our focus was to ensure that a lot of the organizations that we were currently providing the funding support to support the COVID communities in the area already had the base, but also the financial capacity to upfront a lot of the costs that came with supporting our community. As we know that this funding was reimbursement, so that was kind of like a barrier for a lot of the grassroots organizations who don't have the financial means to upfront a lot of the costs, but fortunate this all seemed to work out with ways that we continue to support our community. So the phenomenal organizations who are currently doing this work is bill that I am managing, but I had to give people their roses because they are the ones who's working directly with community. We have our North Puget Sound Marshallese group, Neighborhood House, CAPAA, who has been phenomenal with providing that support through the different areas based on their office location, which has been very helpful in ways that we continue to provide that support. We also have a Sakura 39ers down in Vancouver who has been also been doing phenomenal work in providing this support for our community. I will share this out with Brenda so that way it can be distributed. This cycle does end at at the end of July before we start distributing and handing out funding for the next cycle for the additional funding that was awarded this year. The timeline so far with what we've had with our contractors is we've had a lot of great conversation, especially working with a lot of the providers on what support looks like, what's currently working, and opportunities for the next cycle. This is the conversation that is continuing for a way that we can make this accessible, but also supportive for all the grassroots efforts that are happening across the state. So the data so far that we've had, that we've been collecting, so this data is from October to May. We have served 955 COFA communities with 736 of folks who have already received financial assistance to get their passports, and with a total of 664 passports received from the different areas focus people are working on. This is what the financial looks like currently for our communities with the remaining fundings that are left for this cycle of the 300,000 that was allocated last year. There is still a high request for financial assistance, which a lot of our organizations have been working with to provide that support. That seems to be the number one request for a lot of the passport requests that we've been receiving. We've also been working with a lot of agencies who are distributing the passports or creating the passports for our community. That has been very successful. There is that connection that we have with a lot of these agencies with these different nations, which has supported in a lot of the ways that this process continues to be smooth. We are still looking at about a month to 2 months from mailing in and receiving. That is kind of like the rough timeline for folks. There has been a lot of requests for renewals, but also a lot of our folks who have been away from home for quite a period of time who had to get their documents or who have lost documents, and that there is that process for them to get either their birth certificate and renewing a lot of their I-94s. That is kind of the overall numbers and data and financials that we have for the current budget proviso, which was from last year to this year. The new budget proviso that was awarded this year, we're still in conversation with our COFA community on what distribution or what are the immediate needs that we currently have based on what's working and what's not working. There is a community satisfaction survey to where we hear directly from the communities who have received this support to know what went well and what didn't go so well. So that would be an opportunity for how we shape what this next cycle will look like. Do I have any questions?
Any questions from the commissioners?
No questions, but I do want to just say thank you so much for being here, Adriana, on your weekend. Pride is an incredibly busy month, but it's also just an incredibly busy time. And Utopia has been phenomenal in every single way. And they've been doing a lot more labor than they're being paid for just to support the community. So really just want to give a lot of kudos to Utopia for the support that they've been giving the state and making this possible. Some of the hurdles that like on the ground folks have to face and then Adriana will end up hearing about them. Occasionally our navigators are sending paperwork back to the islands before they can move forward in updating paperwork for folks, and so these are very, very complicated processes and can slow down invoicing and a whole bunch of other things, and Utopia has just been amazing. So just want to say thank you so much, Fafatai.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments that folks might have? I have one, which is just Adriana, again, thank you for your work. And again, yes, thank you for being here on a Saturday. As we move into our 2027 session, which it feels like it's early to think about, but 2027 legislative session, is there any like long-term kind of solutions that we're thinking about in terms of resolving this issue as well? I know that doing some of the background around this is more of a band-aid fix, I think is what you've said previously. So what are the kind of the long-term solutions that we're seeking here as well?
I think the long-term solution is for the real ID requirement for the Department of Licensing to shift to also include not just our COFA communities, but also our US nationals, because currently right now, the real ID or the enhanced ID is only limited to citizens of the US, but the Pacific also houses different treaties, I suppose. Like we have our US nationals from American Samoa and our COFA communities from the COFA Islands who are also being impacted. I know this is a much more bigger conversation that would include also our immigrant communities, our green ID, our green card holders with that conversation with the Department of Licensing. It's how can we shift the requirements for enhanced ID to also include different other, I would say, different other statuses in the US.
Yeah, and I would completely agree. Sis, if I can also just add, I think one of the things that has also come up, well, first of all, the federal guidelines are extremely confusing and inherently have tons of barriers for any immigrant population, even if they're like legal residents, like the COFA community or like US nationals, right? And so but it just makes it so much harder if you are not a US citizen. And even just at the so federally, there's tons of issues, but at the state level, I will say the Department of Licensing has been, I would kind of say less than accommodating at times in making sure that all the access issues for our community members are being met. One of those things is even language access. Um, and sometimes our folks are driving from Spokane to the west side and spending hundreds of dollars just to update their licenses, their driving licenses. And the Department of Licensing, we have asked them to provide paperwork and all of their documents in Marshallese and some of our other like really high need languages. And they have blamed it on funding that they can only translate into or translate documents into the top 15 most commonly spoken languages. But something that people have to recognize is that our Pacific Islander languages will never make that top 15 list. And we really need them to have more equitable ways of defining where they're putting resources because this is a very high need population and a very, very limited English speaking population. They're very, very new to the country. And so that's just one thing where it's been very, very challenging at the state level, just to get some of those access issues removed. So there's tons of system stuff, Kendall. I think Adriana named a lot of them too, very broadly, just for the wider community.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Um, anything else from folks? Okay, seeing none. Well, just thank you again, Adriana, for your work and your presentation and being here during a really, really busy time. And if folks have additional questions, is it okay if they follow up with you directly? Is that okay? Or maybe go through the
Yes,
commission?
that's fine.
Okay. Thank you again. Just deep appreciation for all the work that you continue to do on behalf of the community too. So thank you. The next piece is we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but I think I see Nate on. Is an update on the efforts to implement anti-masking, impersonation, and data privacy bills that were passed in the previous legislative session. And so, welcome, Nate, who is Senior Policy Advisor from the Office of the Governor. Would you like to talk a little bit about or any updates that you might have on those issues?
Sure, and I've got a PowerPoint if it's okay. And let me see if I can share my screen. There we go. Hopefully everyone can see that. So just to introduce myself, I'm Nate Olson. I'm the Public Safety Policy Advisor for Governor Ferguson. So I worked on the three policies that I'm about to talk about. The first one is the mask ban, as it's colloquially known, Senate Bill 5855. What it does is it bans state and federal law enforcement officers from wearing masks. There are some exceptions, primarily for health and safety, undercover operations, things like that. The big piece here is that enforcement is through a private right of action. So rather than having AG enforcement or local law enforcement, this is anyone detained by an officer who is masked against this law can sue that officer and presumably the federal government. I think state law enforcement agencies typically have policies against masking in place already. An important piece of that too is that the officer doesn't have to be known. Obviously, somewhat by definition, a masked officer is trying to mask their identity. So by suing the federal government and the unnamed officer, the civil suit could be used to identify the person that's masking against the law. There is, I think, uh, one piece of this is that officers who are reasonably identifiable, so that's with name, badge number, and agency identifier, they are not subject to liability under the new law. Again, the key piece here is really to ensure that we know um, who's purporting to be an officer of either the federal or state government. And that brings me to the next bill that we worked on, which is the House Bill 2165, typically known as the impersonator bill. And this slide's a little out of date now because this is coming into effect shortly. But before this bill, State law only prohibited law enforcement impersonation when someone was really actively impersonating an officer by attending a crime scene, pulling somebody over, um, being in an outfit that looked like a police uniform, or driving a car that looked like a police car. That was not actually unlawful prior to the passage of this law, which was beginning to be a problem. And this bill expands the prohibited conduct to wearing look-alike law enforcement uniforms, driving a car that looks like a police vehicle, or displaying a badge that appears to be a real law enforcement badge. And it clarifies that all federal agents who enforce laws are considered law enforcement under this law. There was some, it was unclear under the predecessor bill. And primarily, I think this is a key. One of the things that local law enforcement will always do is identify whether or not somebody is a legitimate law enforcement agent, and they're happy to go out and check on that. But this really makes it clear that if somebody's in a uniform driving a vehicle that looks like a law enforcement vehicle, then you know either they're breaking the law or they're legitimate law enforcement, and just helps draw a clear delineation of between civilians and law enforcement. And then the last thing I'm here to talk about is the automated license plate reader bill, Senate Bill 6002, also known as the Flock bill. So I guess just to take a step back on this one, automated license plate readers are cameras that read license plates on vehicles, convert them into text that a computer system can read so that it can then search that license plate across a variety of federal and state databases. Uh, Previously, there was no statewide regulation of these devices. Cities that used them typically had ordinances that set up a framework for their usage, and there was, so there every city or in county had a different ordinance, and there was no regulation of privately owned automated license plate readers. So these were the cameras seen in, Safeway parking lots, Home Depot parking lots. So this bill creates that a sort of a unified statewide framework, uh, and it does a number of things I'll go through. So it authorizes license plate readers for specific purposes. The general rule is that license plate readers can't be used by government for willy-nilly. It has to be, if they're used, they have to be used for a specified purpose. So that's law enforcement purposes, specifically looking for stolen vehicles, vehicles related to felony or gross misdemeanor crimes, missing persons, really sort of specific areas of criminal law enforcement. They can also be used for parking enforcement, and then WSDOT and Washington State Patrol's commercial vehicle enforcement program. So this is searching trucks at way stations. The bill directs the Attorney General's office to create model policies that can be adopted by agencies to comply with this law, and it requires every automated license plate reader system to be registered with the Attorney General's office. Um, the It provides public records protection to the actual camera data and prevents agencies from sharing their automated license plate reader data with most external sources. So can't share it with the federal government, can't share it with private entities, can't share it with agencies that aren't allowed to have automated license plate readers. The primary exception to that rule is that data from these cameras can be used in criminal prosecutions, and uh, other criminal investigations, other in certain contexts. So enforcement of this is bill is threefold. So for companies that sell these systems and private entities that use the system, enforcement is through the Consumer Protection Act, which is that the Attorney General's office can bring an enforcement action against any company violating this law. It also creates the crime of unlawful use of an automated license plate reader, which is a gross misdemeanor. So any officer, individual, really anybody that accesses one of these systems intentionally for a reason that does not comply with the bill is guilty of a gross misdemeanor. And then finally, any data or evidence that was gained from one of these systems unlawfully is excluded from any criminal prosecution related to its use. That's it in a nutshell, I think. If I'm happy to take any questions on any of those three bills and sort of what they do, what the intent was.
I see a couple of our commissioners have their hands up. So Second Vice Chair Leasing, would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, thank you so much, Nate, for the presentation and your work on these bills. I'm Anna Leasing. I chair our legislative committee here at CAPAA. I was wondering if you could give an update, and I realize they just took effect, but just in terms of like general timeline and next steps for implementation. So you mentioned like on 6002, right? The AGO needs to develop model policies, et cetera. So just like, do you have any updates that you can share? On just implementation timelines and next steps for these three bills?
Yes. So I'll note that both the mask ban and the automated license plate reader took effect at the governor's signature. So both of those bills are in effect. On the automated license plate reader bill, the AGO model policies is really sort of the next step. There are a number of jurisdictions that have basically come out with policies to try to ensure they're in compliance with the law. I think Kent comes to mind off the top of my head as a jurisdiction that's using these and then has appropriately registered them with the Attorney General's office and has policies in place and is awaiting the model policies to see if there's anything they need to tweak. So really then the model policies is really the next big step there. And I guess I'll note agencies have 180 days to initially register their systems with the Attorney General's office. So bill was signed, I want to say in April. So by the fall, we'll have a set of the agencies that are using these systems and then what policies they have in place around them to comply with the law.
That's super helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, on the criminal impersonator bill doesn't take effect until I think it's a couple days from now. It's a criminal law, so enforcement's just by local prosecutors' offices. We expect that it's essentially they'll implement that. On the masking ban, we're really sort of I think the expectation there is there'll be a test case where somebody sues the federal government claims the law is unconstitutional, and then the Attorney General's office defends any state law that's challenged, they would step in and then litigate that, I think is the expectation there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cho.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I'm curious, how does the bill make a distinction between automatic license plate readers and just normal CCTV cameras that might pick up license plates as part of its normal recording?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the law does make a distinction. The way, and I'm working off of memory here, but I spend enough time with that bill, I think I'll probably get it mostly right. The bill defines an automated license plate reader as one where there is a computer system that takes the image of the license plate and converts it into essentially data that can be read by other computers. So a CCTV has a license plate on it, but that camera isn't used. It can't take that license plate number and check it against databases on its own. It can't record that license plate number in a big file. It just has the picture of it, and you have to have an actual person sit down and look at that image to be able to use it. So,
but I guess there's like a gray area here because you could take CCTV footage and just run it through a software that reads the license plate. And so
yeah.
So in that case, you're not using the camera necessarily for license plate reading, but that footage can be fed into something that does read it. And so does that still fall under this law?
Yes, that would fall under this definition because the second piece of the definition of the bill is any computer system which is used to take camera footage and convert it into automated license plate reader data. So to your point, if the CCTV is recording images and isn't you and those images aren't fed into a system, it would not fall under this bill. That would be separate. But if those images are at any point fed through a system that converts the data, then it becomes an automated license plate reader subject to the law.
Okay, and so this applies to government agencies, and I think I heard you say, does this also apply with the private sector as well, like folks who have parking lots and or commercial buildings?
Yeah, it applies in, I I guess, three primary ways. It applies primarily to government agencies.
Right.
It applies and entities that work with them, so government parking lots, anything related to a government agency. It does apply to private entities to the extent that they aren't permitted to share data with government entities absent a warrant. So, even Home Depot is still under this bill allowed to have an automated license plate reader in their parking lot, but that data they're not allowed to give that data to anybody else absent a warrant. I
Got
think
it. So they can still use it for their own parking enforcement purposes. They just can't
correct.
share it.
Correct. The piece
Okay.
there was we really wanted to ensure that this is really that the data is, not sort of shared wildly. Um, the other piece is that the vendors themselves are regulated under this law. They have to have systems in place for compliance with this law, and
Got it.
yeah, so that we can ensure that, even though we're not directly involved in the private entities' use of this data, that the systems themselves are ensuring compliance with the law and the data sharing pieces of it specifically.
Great. And one last clarification. So
Mhm.
these systems still can be used for parking enforcement or like roadside enforcement?
Parking enforcement, roadside enforcement gets a little bit more complicated because they can only be used for specific uh, law enforcement purposes. So there's a couple exceptions around traffic safety cameras, school, primarily sort of speed cameras, because just based on how those systems work to generate a traffic ticket. But primarily, it would be parking enforcement and law enforcement purposes. But this is a good clarification that this is reminding me. I forgot one of the biggest pieces of this bill, which is it bans the usage of all automated license plate readers around what were termed sensitive locations. So any sort of religious facility, school, hospital, healthcare provider. I think I might be missing a couple, but to ensure that there are, some of the most important places that we can go are sort of protected from surveillance in that way.
And sorry, what was the bill number on this again?
6002. It's a Senate bill.
602. Okay, thank you.
Hmm?
Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner Cho. Um, Additional questions that other commissioners might have? Um, I have just one question maybe about the first bill about the anti-masking bill,
Sure.
law enforcement. Number one, has the bill gone into effect already?
Yep. It went in effect when the governor signed it in April.
Okay. My second question is, have we seen anyone bring a private right of action regarding masking of law enforcement up to this point?
Not yet to my knowledge. Um, Possible I'm missing a case that has occurred, but not yet to my knowledge. And I think
Okay.
part of what we're doing at this point is frankly trying to make sure that the folks on the ground are aware of this law's existence and sort of understand the best way to utilize it. So, visited some civil legal aid organizations in Whatcom and Skagit recently, planning to go out to Yakima and Spokane in the near future, Vancouver as well. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then my last question is just around potential court challenges around this law in particular. Have we seen any challenges to the law up to this point? Because
not
I know
in
that this like kind of mirrors similar challenges that they had in California around it, but primarily around federal law enforcement. I know it's included in this bill, but this also includes local and state. So I'm wondering, have we seen any legal challenges to the law?
haven't seen a challenge in court yet. Perhaps to no one's surprise, the federal government has indicated they don't intend to comply with this. So I would expect that to come in the future when when somebody brings an action under it. But at this point, other than their statement that they're not going to comply, I haven't seen a specific court challenge.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Commissioner Cho, I see your hand still up. I don't know if you're still up from the previous question or if you had another one.
Sorry, that was a residual hand.
Okay, all good, all good. Well, thank you, Nate, again for being here on a Saturday. Thank you for your thoughtful analysis on the bills in particular and how they potentially, all three bills. I think we asked to hear some background on is just because these three in particular have a significant impact on our communities that CAPAA serves. And so we're just continuing to kind of watch and monitor and see how they're being implemented and enforced. I think is a really big piece. Enforcement of our laws is a big piece here. So just really deep appreciation to you and the work and the governor's office on these bills too. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Do you have a contact information in case folks have any kind of follow-up?
Yeah, I think you can feel free to reach through me on the commission. I think my email's on the governor's website as well. Um, I can put it in the chat as well if that works.
Great. Thank you, Nate. Really appreciate it.
Thank you all for the time this morning.
Absolutely. Okay. So with that, we are actually a little bit ahead on our agenda, and looking at our agenda, we didn't actually build any breaks into it, but I think this is a good time to do so. So maybe what we'll do is we'll take a 10-minute break. We'll come back at the scheduled 10:15 strategic planning session. And then we'll kind of go from there. Is that all right? Okay, so we are on recess for 10 minutes until 10:15. Thank you very much. Good doke. It is 10:15. Folks want to come back? Appreciate seeing folks' smiling faces. All right. Hello, hello. Give another 15 seconds for folks to kind of sign on, but thank you for coming back. Hi, Alice. Good to see you. Alrighty. We're gonna go ahead and get started. So in the continuation of our work to build a strategic plan out by the end of the year, we are meeting and hitting certain benchmarks throughout the process. And so today, Commissioner or Vice Chair McKenna will actually be kind of facilitating this portion of the agenda. So I'm going to toss it over to Vice Chair McKenna to go from here. So, Vice Chair McKenna.
Thank you, Kendall. Good morning again, everybody. I'm going to do my best to facilitate while being off camera. I actually hate that so much. So this is not ideal, but I do need to share screen. So I'm gonna also just cross my fingers that this works. If anybody has any issues, then I will work with staff to have them share their screen instead. Um, yeah, so just a little bit of kind of recapping. In the last meeting, some folks might remember that we finalized the vision statement and then got really close to finalizing the new mission statement. And there was some kind of like agreement that the subcommittee would take the draft back and kind of tweak it and finalize it with kind of the blessing of the wider commission. So we were able to land on a final mission and vision statement. There's definitely been a lot going on since we last met. The strategic planning subcommittee has met monthly since March or February, maybe even, and we've been getting a lot done. There is now a survey that is live. The staff might be able to actually drop a link if you have not looked at the survey yet. Many of you should have gotten a big brown manila envelope with physical surveys included inside. Those are for you to distribute to any community members that might have some access issues or that you might just have an easier time reaching with the physical survey. So Brenda included everything, and thank you, Brenda, for sending those out. That's a lot of mailing. Brenda included everything in there, so you can just hand the surveys out and get them back completed and then mail them back directly to the CAPAA office in Olympia. So please try to distribute as many as you can. Again, it will just allow us to get the more input, the better for the strategic plan. I think because of just the very, very tight timeline that we are on, we have definitely faced some challenges just with making sure we're able to do the level of community engagement that we want to. I'm actually really proud of us in the kind of hybrid effort that we have taken. Timeline for returning the surveys. I mean, I might ask if other people have thoughts on this that are on the subcommittee, but I think we're trying to wrap up all of our community engagement stuff probably by mid-July at the latest. So at the absolute latest, please get them back, like mail them off. I'm just gonna say July 10th. Let's just say July 10th, which gives folks a few weeks overall. And thank you for that question, Nick. So yeah, so we've been doing kind of hybrid, like a hybrid approach for community engagement. So the survey is one way that we're reaching people online. The physical copies allow us to reach community members in person and have maybe more personable conversations with them. We're also holding in-person and online listening sessions with groups who are already gathered. And one of those was, for example, the statewide APIC and ACRS. So that listening session was held last week in person, and there was a hybrid option for folks that weren't in person. And then there's a listening session with the Pacifica Village Council of Washington next week, which is an effort to reach NHPI policy leaders. So there's been a lot of intention going into making sure that we're reaching folks who have a stake in CAPA's work and who have been working with CAPAA, while also trying to reach folks that maybe haven't done as much work with CAPAA or don't know what we're doing. So the community engagement efforts have been pretty solid considering that we've been working on a really, really tight timeline. And we actually doubled the timeline for this period just to make sure that we could do good in community engagement. So with all that being said, our task at hand today is looking at priorities. And so as we continue to gather input from the surveys, from the listening sessions, from other conversations with community members, um, all of that information and data is informing the priorities that will be listed in CAPA's strategic plan over the next 5 years. So today, this is the chance for commissioners to give direct feedback for the priorities of the strategic plan. We have a Padlet, so there's going to be a little bit of interaction that's required on your part if anybody has any access issues. Again, we have about an hour. Looking at Kendall to make sure. I'm like, I think we have about an hour for this activity. And before we do that, I wanted to go ahead and just share what the finalized mission and vision statements were. Again, just to warm up brains and get people thinking about what's next. So I'm going to share my screen. And can everybody see this okay? It should be okay. Thank you for the nods. It should be a Canva. So this is the final vision statement that we landed on. I'll just read it. A Washington state government that reflects the diverse lived experiences, contributions, and histories of Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, and Asian American communities. So that is the finalized vision statement. Should look familiar to everybody. This one should also look familiar. This is our finalized mission statement. So CAPA's mission is to advance equitable access and representation in government for Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, and Asian American communities by amplifying voices, building community power, and strengthening solidarity. So those are the two that we landed on. So you will be seeing all those much more often. And now I am going to share the link to the Padlet for those of you that might be a little unfamiliar with Padlet. I believe we did use Padlet in our March session and maybe our January session as well, just to collect input. It's kind of a cool online software that allows us to capture a lot of input in one place. I'm going to do my best to share this and then hopefully everybody has abilities to edit. So let's do a little bit of troubleshooting here. Okay, I'm going to drop the link in the chat. And can everybody make sure when you go into your Padlet, and I will say, I know that we have some guests on the call. This is just for commissioners, but you all are welcome to observe, listen to the conversation, and I even welcome written comments in the chat. But this is for commissioners. So for the commissioners, can you all open the Padlet okay? And does it seem like you all maybe have ability to write comments and things in the Padlet? I don't need you to do anything next. Okay. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Okay, great. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to just walk folks through what this kind of what all is on here, because I know it looks like a lot, but this is actually just to help us organize our thoughts. This is overall going to be a very organic conversation. I do not want to be talking at you for the next hour, but this is an opportunity for us to really hear your voices because in the subcommittee space, obviously, there's just for a refresher, me, Kendall, Anna, Scott, and Carrie are all in the subcommittee with staff. And so this is a really good opportunity to hear the rest of your voices because we get to talk about this a little bit more. But this is also to make sure that we're all being intentional about outlining what we see as most important in these next 5 years of CAPA's work. So this first question that I want to focus on and bring attention to is which issues are most important to your community. If you have seen the survey online, and again, I guess for any folks that are here from the public, you are welcome to just go ahead and fill out the online survey while you're here. If I could ask staff to put a link for the online survey if you have not already in the chat, feel free to, this is the same as the online survey. So if you want to have your voices captured, please go on and fill out the online survey. But we are going to start with which issues are most important to your community. Please pick up to 3. And so what I'll actually ask commissioners to do is go ahead and just throw a like on whatever their top 3 priorities here are that are listed. I would probably advise you to read through the list first, and I'll read through them as well. add a like, and then if you would like to add a comment, again, this Padlet is really helpful for the subcommittee members to go back and kind of get a refresh on what we talked about during the meeting. Staff are taking a lot of notes today, but if you would like your like extra comments captured, please use that comment area. And so while folks are walking through, I'm just going to read these out loud and then I'll give us a minute or two. So which issues are most important to your community? We have immigrant rights, housing affordability and stability, health and human services or healthcare access, education equity and access, language access, economic equity and small business support, anti-Asian hate, mental health and behavioral health, disaggregated data and community visibility, environmental justice, voting rights, and civic participation. So I'm going to give 2 minutes to have people pick their three and write any comments that they want to. If we need more time, I'll give a little bit less, or I'll give a little bit more, but I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and let people do that for the next 2 minutes. Eck, I see your hand up, so go ahead if you have any questions.
Yeah, I just had I had responded to the survey maybe a couple weeks ago when you had emailed out the survey for everyone. Should I do that again? Should I re-enter
You
the
know, I would personally, I would say yes, just because I would love to see kind of how maybe the commission compares to what the community is saying. So I would love to have your voice captured here too. If anything, what you can do is just go and write comments maybe next to the ones that you voted on, um, just to kind of have your voice captured in that way. Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to give people some quiet time. So something that I'm seeing is folks maybe leaving comments through accessing that little plus sign under the question. If you have a comment that's specific to one of the priorities, I'd just ask that you add the comment underneath that specific priority. And if that's confusing at all, please let me know. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and just ask, would anybody be willing to share kind of out loud why they chose what they chose, or kind of if you have any further thoughts, is anybody willing to share? Or does anybody have the desire to share, especially if you're not on the subcommittee, but also open to subcommittee comments? I think some overall observations while people maybe think about how to contribute here to some discussion. We're seeing a lot in immigration and immigrant rights, education equity and access, language access. I would say those are probably the highest. Go ahead, Sam. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. So yeah, I think for obvious reasons, immigration and immigration rights has been a hot topic and one of very high tension given this administration and given the policies around ICE and what they've been doing in communities of color. So I think that one's a little more self-explanatory. The other one that I chose was education, equity, and access. Um, I think our communities in particular are very, very are keen on getting the best education for their children, but also, as we heard from Anjali, and this movement that we have towards making sure that our K through 12 education curriculums have, our histories and our experiences integrated into the curriculum. And then I'm a little surprised to see that there isn't as much in economic equity and small business support. But the vast majority of, our communities are small business owners. And I continue to hear how the business environment is getting more difficult for small business owners in the region. Um, and, I think there's a need for us to continue to try and make the distinction between large corporations that make billions of dollars and don't pay their fair share of taxes versus the small mom and pop shops that are run by our immigrant aunties and uncles that are really struggling to get by. And so I think that's an area that I find to be one of the things that we can bolster and capitalize on.
Awesome. That's super helpful. Thank you so much, Sam. Would anybody else like to share? Okay. I'm going to keep us moving since we do have a limited amount of time. I thought people would be a little bit more eager to use that comment section on the Padlet. And so to accommodate, I'm going to actually, moving forward, ask folks to put one comment per vote that they leave. The reason I'm asking this is because when we go to write the strategic plan, your commentary will actually help build the narrative to explain why some of these things are important. So again, that's one way that we'll be using your voice. So let's look at the next question together. Is anybody having issues with the Padlet? Just want to do a really quick show of hands. Everybody's having an okay time. Okay, cool. So let's look at the next question together. That is, which issues should CAPA prioritize? So select up to 3. And again, please leave one comment per vote. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes, so I'm gonna bring us back. I'm seeing some comments, so thank you so much. I know it kind of takes some time to um, write out your comments. I'm not seeing comments from everybody, so I will potentially start picking on folks if I think that maybe they're not engaging fully. Again, really want full participation, and it's important that your community's voice is heard here. So, um, awesome. Thank you so much, Alice. I'm seeing that in your comment in the chat. That's wonderful. And yes, there should be some open-ended questions in the survey, so you should be able to provide some of your own narrative, and that will all be directly used to make our strategic plan. Would anybody be willing to share kind of why they chose which issues they did for CAPA prioritizing in the strategic plan? Seeing a lot for immigration again, education equity, language access, disaggregated data were kind of the top four.
This is Ek. Hi, I can share a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I put a nod for education. Obviously, I my comment really was the model minority myth continues to haunt and hurt our communities, especially the NHPI as well as the Southeast Asian communities. And so, I mean, it connects directly with, the need for disaggregated data and the understanding and awareness of our educators when they're, connecting with our students. So yeah, that was one. I also had another comment for immigration, and that was with the rising of ICE and the targeting of our communities. There's a lot of members who have they don't have the information. They don't have the There's a lot of misinformation going out there, and the need for supporting our communities, whether it's through more education, know your rights, and trainings to kind of level set what's happening is real. So those are my two comments. Thank you.
That's great, Ek. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your thoughtfulness. Because we're seeing a lot in language access, as well as disaggregated data, community visibility, would anybody that voted for those two be willing to share something about one of those and why they chose that? Okay, I'm seeing a comment from Malia. Thank you. Language access remains a shared disparity amongst all of our communities and touches every other priority area. There's an opportunity for us to model and improve best practices here across many sectors that could have broad impact. Awesome. I know those came up earlier today in the Utopia conversation as well. Anybody else have input on language access or disaggregated data and community visibility? Okay, keep adding your comments. I do want to lift up, I appreciate Anna's comment in the Padlet around just our communities are like needing or that they've communicated that they benefit from the data that we're able to provide and lack adequate resources to compile the data themselves. And I think that is something that I have also seen as far as all the data reports that we do put out as CAPA are used heavily by community members. I know the data report that we published at PICA a couple of years ago is heavily used. And data really does help to determine the investment and resources that communities can obtain to actually address some of the most challenging issues that they're having. So I completely agree with that. I'll kind of I'm sorry that my name's not popping up. I'm the Aphelion Traveler in the Padlet. And I'll raise that. I've recently heard kind of in our national organizing group that um, the federal government is considering changing OMB 15 again after it was just updated in 2024 after multiple years of advocacy from the NHPI community to kind of get our own racial category. They're considering removing it altogether because they feel like it's a poor investment. And so it wouldn't actually even just be reverting back to the original API category. It would be reverting back to having no NHPI ethnic category acknowledged. So this is a really, really big blow. And it's still something that we're being challenged with, even at the state level, where Washington does have a requirement for disaggregated data collection. But we see that our state departments have, and even other like institutions like hospitals have a really, really hard time actually enforcing and kind of following that mandate for disaggregated data, which leads to a lot of issues for our communities. So that's something that's a priority for me and the NHPI community. Okay, let's keep moving. And I'm sorry this isn't more exciting, but this is really the best way that we could think of to gather your input. And I'm seeing people are already moving ahead as it works for them. So that's great. Please feel free to do that. Please keep adding your comments. I really am asking for comments from everybody on the Padlet. So if I don't see your name, we're going to be reaching out and asking you to do more work later. So the next question is which CAPA services are most valuable to your community? So one thing that we are really intentional about doing in the survey is making sure that we're very clear about what CAPA does do and what we cannot or do not do. Probably due to capacity, I'm sure that everybody wishes we could do everything. I know I do, but this is just helping us get really clear about where we're going to put our own resources and focus. So the options are legislative advocacy, disaggregated data and research consultation, civic engagement and listening sessions, navigation to state resources and services, representation on state councils and task forces, partnerships with state agencies for community education, policy analysis, grants and contract management, and letters of support and coalition coordination. So once again, I'm going to give people 2 minutes to go ahead and put your likes on your top 3 issues, and please leave a comment in as many areas as you can. All right. Coming back, I'm seeing the most, which is actually cool because I think we're all pretty aligned on that as far as legislative advocacy, and really using our positionality within the governor's office to the best of our ability. I think one comment that I want to add here is probably more solidarity and collaboration with also the other commissions. Um, that was really effective this legislative session, and I think that's something that we can continue to improve on. Also seeing a lot for navigation to state resources and services. Um, yeah, and then I think the third most is probably that disaggregated data again. Commissioner Pongsa, would you be willing to come off and share a little bit about, I see that you left a nice comment under the navigation to state resources. I don't know if there's anything that you would want to share.
Yeah, hi. I just want to say my comment was it's great for locally for us to be able to use this information and data when we are presenting or doing anything locally to try to um, just do presentations and stuff. So I think data is very important.
Awesome, thank you. And I'll pass it to Sam.
Yeah, one observation that I had was that I think the navigation to state resources one and the partnerships with state agencies for community education are very similar, in my opinion. And I almost think that those two can be combined. I don't know if others feel the same way, but I had a hard time choosing between those two.
I made a comment about that too, Sam.
Yeah.
So we probably will end up combining them,
Okay.
but that's wonderful. Thank you. Was there anything else that you wanted to share, Sam?
No, that's it.
Okay, cool. Pass it to Kendall.
Thank you. And yeah, I agree. There's a lot of overlap, not only in that piece, but also other pieces as well. One of the things that I've been thinking about a lot recently, and I'm probably the only one that voted on it, is around representation in government. And so I had a really nice conversation with Kendi Yamaguchi, who is the former executive director of CAPAA several years ago. And she talked about how involved CAPAA was using its positionality in government to ensure that folks in the community were appointed into positions within the state government that the governor has the power to appoint. And so, I've been thinking about it a lot lately because I think that having our communities being represented in government, not only through CAPA, but also in different kind of sectors, agencies, whatnot, is so critical. And so that's why I added that like +1 to, I forget what it was called. It was called representation on state councils and task forces. It's not just councils and task forces, but it's also like appointed positions as well. So just some food for thought for folks to think about, because I do think that there's an opportunity for CAPA to really play a strong role in coordination with other commissions to recommend folks for some of these positions too.
That's great, Kendall. I can kind of envision us. So some folks are probably having the similar experience to what Sam named, and I'm also having, which some of these kind of are very closely tied to each other. And so part of our mission being, we're trying to make a more representative state government. I think those are maybe some of the if it's not the priority, it's maybe one of the tactics. And so just kind of imagining where these things might fall, but it's highly likely that most of these things will have some type of place in the final strategic plan, even if they're not like an overarching like strategy. Any other comments from folks? All right, we're moving along. We are getting very close, so thank you for your patience. Let's take 2 minutes again to answer the question, what best describes your role? I think, honestly, this one is a little bit, I left this one on the Padlet because I do actually think us as commissioners, it might be helpful to kind of see like where we're coming to. So go ahead and kind of click where you kind of feel like you represent outside of your commission role. And we don't have to put too much time into maybe discussing this one unless people have comments. It's nice to see that we have a little bit of a spread though. All right, thank you everybody for voting. Oh, and thank you for the question, Scott, and the answer, Anna. I feel like you're so tech savvy, so that's wonderful. You're like, I've never been called tech savvy in my life. Um, okay, cool. Does anybody have any comments kind of that they want to share just about what they clicked as far as their community role or outside affiliation? Sam, your hand is still up, but I'm assuming that it's from the previous comments that you had. Okay,
Yep, sorry about that.
Oh, you're fine. No worries. All right, I'm going to move us along then. If everybody could please also just self-identify into the what is your race, ethnicity, that would also be awesome. Um, I'm also wondering who is Coastline Venturer? Anybody know who that is? Okay. You clicked both on the kind of like identity identification, so I'm curious who you are. Okay. Well, if somebody figures out that that's them, please let me know. Um, and the last question, so this is more of kind of like a wide share. And then we can just kind of move into more of a discussion if folks want. If we end early, that's fine too. But again, this is just like the best way to capture so many thoughts for this part of the strategic plan. What should CAPA focus on most to support the AA and NHPI community over the next 3 to 5 years? Do you have anything else to share? And so this is we're going to leave this Padlet open for commissioners. So if you're kind of like, I actually want some time to just sit with this, I would ask that you maybe get your comments in by the end of next week. That would be super helpful. We'll leave this open for the next week if people want to come back to it. We really appreciate more input than not. But I'll also just open this one up to, since we have staff that are taking notes for us. I think one of the questions that, or one of the things that's coming up, I think, in listening sessions is also like a reflection of how you think we've been doing these last 5 years. And so I'm also would invite folks to maybe share how you think we've been doing these last 5 years and maybe some things just broadly that you're like, I would really like to see us improve this in the next 5 years, or I think we've been doing freaking awesome in this other area, and I'd like to see us continuing in that way. So I'm going to just go ahead and open us up for discussion. Please add your comments in as you can today and over the next week. But is there anybody that would like to share kind of thoughts too about where we're coming from or where they would really like to see us going?
So I have just like a comment that I've heard pretty regularly, and not necessarily in the direction that we're going, but just right. I think two pieces of regular feedback that as we've started the survey and community listening session process was one, just lack of visibility of the work that we are doing. I think we update here, we send out our newsletter and our social media channels, and I don't like it's clearly not enough because people don't know all the work that we are undertaking. We're not aware of like what we are championing during legislative session and the follow-up work that we are doing around that. So I think there's just like a lot of area for improvement and growth and being able to communicate back to community organizations and folks in community about what we're doing to support them and ensuring that that's like, kind of closing that feedback loop and ensuring that like, hey, is this in the right track, et cetera. And then the second, I think, is just really around, I'm hearing like that they feel that there's not a lot of consistency in the level of community engagement across commissioners, and just, really needing to strengthen and deepen community relationships, showing up more. And so I think those are the two areas that I'm being like, I would really like to see us like be intentional about how do we weave this into how CAPA operates going forward? How do we weave this in the strategic plan? And also just how do I like show up?
I can deeply resonate with that too as well, in terms of things I've heard. I think, getting it out there is like a critical piece of our work and our roles as CAPA commissioners as well. So That partially why we want to do those in-person or virtual like listening sessions that are so critical. And, you know, I think for me, I believe that commissioners have a responsibility to absolutely be meeting with community leaders, community folks on a regular basis to make sure that they know what's going on or hearing things in the community. And so I just want to plus one that Commissioner Leasing, because I think it's so critical to our work is making sure that, yes, folks know who we are and what we're doing, but also just like understanding and being on the ground in a lot of different ways. So thank you. Thank you for that comment.
Yeah, thank you. I would actually really be curious to hear from commissioners on like what their experiences in their local communities and kind of representing CAPA or being out in the community. Does this feel kind of like um, does your role on CAPA feel like or does your community engagement with like tend to kind of be a little bit of a side priority, or does it feel like something that is kind of always coming up in your day to day? Also, one quick reminder for members of the public, just in case we had anybody join late, the Padlet activity that we're doing right now is for commissioners only. But if you are a member of the public and would like to give feedback on these questions, we have option to take a survey, which I will pop back in the chat. And please go ahead and pop into the survey to share your feedback. Thank you so much. But yeah, going back to the question, what are folks' kind of experiences on the ground and showing up as a CAPA representative and being visible in your own communities? Is that something that resonates for everybody as far as feedback?
This is Commissioner Sisvati. Gosh, thank you all. And yeah, that's plus one for me as well for the comments. I think as a commissioner coming from a Lao community, being very invisible and underserved, some of the things that I feel like being a commissioner that I had the opportunity to support my community is through proclamations. A lot of the good things that are happening within our communities, our community is pretty siloed, and we don't really associate or connect so much to the larger communities. And I think speaking to many of the other ethnic communities, that happens within. As well. And so when, Lao New Year's and whatnot came about, and having both, Commissioner Pongsa and I being Lao, it's something that is, dear to our heart. And so these are some things that I think we can capture. And I saw that in the plan there as well as being listed. So I'm grateful that that is there. I think that can be utilized well by communities. They're not expecting, you know, um, uh, let's, that larger scheme of let's all get resourced and connected in that way. But when they're doing things for the community and they're really proud about, it'd be nice to have a point of contact and say, hey, if you're looking for a proclamation for your new year or a special occasion, it's something we can support with. And if you've seen some of the posts out in social media, it gets thousands. I think our New Year celebration at the state capitol, for example, had over, I think, 70 something thousand by the time views from nationally and internationally to in Laos. So that is something that we're proud about. And my experience, obviously, I this is like I think this is the third time we've done this under my term, being in 9 years, I can't remember how many times, two or three times, I can't remember. And these are some of the same comments that I'm hearing is we should be a little more visible. I will also caveat the challenges we face obviously is we're 12 commissioners, and we're connected to our specific ethnic groups, and it's hard to reach 48 plus ethnicities, nationally recognized ethnicities. But we try, and it's hard work, and it's very hard work. So I appreciate and wanted to celebrate you all. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ek, for your very thoughtful comments and everything you shared, and for your long service. It's actually so hard to imagine how much CAPA you have seen. So, very, very cool. Commissioner Ping, I'll pass it to you.
Yes, I wrote in the survey that about the last question. So I would just this is about my observation of the some kind of like a very much needed services. If I don't know if CAPA can provide or it's not in the scope of CAPA's services, but my observation is the immigrants with language barriers really need to know where are resources related to legal field. For example, where to look for the attorneys for divorce, for if they have neighbor disputes, or for a small business being harassed by police. And where to look for the attorneys, they will charge money. So there's two types. One, who will charge and who will not charge much, just like the volunteers for low-income immigrants. Just for different sorts of problems they meet in life. I kind of feel these are not belonging to the immigrant rights, that kind of category, but it's about to live their daily life in a safe and just in a safe way and in a peaceful way in the in the daily world. So this is something I am often facing because I have community members come to me to ask to talk about their problems in life, and then I try to help. I ask our CAPA staff managers, and Nagin has helped me to give me resources, but it's just ending. There's no real point of contact. No follow up will make this help happening. It's just yeah, the helps are there. You just look for the websites, but no really follow up. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Ping. One thing I might add to this piece of the conversation is I do think there's a couple things that are coming up for me around this. So one, I do think the capacity kind of like Ek was mentioning, capacity has been a little bit low. I also think in that though, we have, I don't think, been so clear about what we do and do not do. I think that will help us balance capacity and the things that we want to prioritize as CAPA. I also am really hoping that this strategic plan is operationalized for staff, so they can be leading the implementation of it with all the commissioners being a support. In that, I think one thing that I will maybe say as a critique of CAPA, is I do think that we have fallen into what all state government and any government and institution representative falls into, which is just kind of upholding a status quo without really realizing that we're doing so. And I think oftentimes I have seen us invest in the same work year after year that's not necessarily contributing to systems or policy change, but it's upholding that same level of commitment or work that we have just been upholding every year because I think it doesn't require as much capacity to uphold the status quo. And so I think that's probably one critique where I would challenge CAPA to be in different spaces and be in different areas of work that will better push for policy and systems change that will better serve our communities rather than pushing and reporting on work that is not actually going to lead to improved outcomes for our community members. And I'll explicitly say that I also will hold this up for the way in which we've been serving NHPI folks. We've never had, I mean, maybe once, but in recent memory, and while I've been on the commission, we've never had any NHPI staff. We've always had very, very few NHPI commissioners. And I have seen a lot of our investments, even around legislative session, go towards uplifting efforts and movements that are Asian led, which is wonderful. And I think we need to, the part of the status quo that I want us to rename is how do we uplift both of the communities in which we're serving um, through this very ambitious movement that is CAPAA. Anything else coming up for folks? Okay. Any other, again, this is a good chance to kind of share reflections about what you're hearing in your own communities. Any critiques or reflections on where we're coming from and where we don't want to be moving forward? Okay. Um, that is all we had planned for today. Again, the Padlet will be open for the next week, so please go ahead and add your comments and keep sharing the survey. Our next meeting will be in September, so just our next commission meeting is in September. So just a few things to be aware of. We will be starting to sort through as a subcommittee all of the community input that we receive via the survey, listening sessions, all the commission input. One thing I didn't say, but maybe should say is commission input will not be weighted heavier than what we hear from the community. All of us are community members, and so this feedback will just be incorporated into what we are getting from community members. So just want to be really clear about that. This was a good time to just kind of create analysis together, make sure we're all on the same page, and also giving commissioners a chance to share anything that, again, it's really hard to collect all feedback in just a survey if you're a community member. So this is just another opportunity to amplify voices. We will be sorting through all the community input. We'll be meeting a couple of more times. And then in September, we'll hopefully be on track to start combing through not only priorities, but some of the tactics that we'll be assigning to the strategies that we're going to be naming in our strategic plan. And then by the time we come back together, I believe we meet in November, we should have an almost finalized plan. And so, as there are continuous ways to engage the commission in these efforts, we will do so. If you feel like you are eager to be closer to this process, please reach out and we will find ways. Trust me, we will find ways for you to help out with carrying this plan forward. But the subcommittee is really doing an awesome job in stewarding this process and making sure that we're reaching as many corners of our community as we can, and also making sure that we're going to be able to release the plan to the public and to the communities in a very transparent way by the end of the year, which will also get us ready for legislative session. So thank you everybody for all of your input. I know again, this was not the most exciting, exciting session, but it is very helpful. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner McKenna, and just deep appreciation for your continued leadership in this, in leading and pushing us along and making sure we hit deadlines and meeting our mandate. So just thank you, thank you, thank you. The process is hard and yeah, not always glorious, but it is critical to our work. So thank you. And so, okay. Well, and then just a friendly reminder to all commissioners, we did, again, like Commissioner McKenna said, we did send out that survey. I'd like to, would love to see a lot more responses come in the next couple of weeks, and because it will play a critical role in like shaping the way that we do our strategic plan. So please utilize your networks, please send it out, please share it widely. So we are a little bit ahead of time, but that's okay because there's a lot going on. I'd like to move on to the commissioners roundtable to hear from commissioners. And again, this is not just a opportunity for commissioners to talk about what's happening in their respective regions or the work they've been doing. But I think we'd like folks to answer the question like we did last time. What is one win and one challenge your community has experienced since March that would be informative to our work at CAPAA? Okay, so what is one win and one challenge to your community that you've experienced since March that would be informative to CAPAA's work? And so I'm just going to go round robin here based on who's on my screen. And maybe we'll start with Commissioner Ping.
Okay, thank you. Let me be the first one. Yeah, good morning, commissioners and staff team and executive director Nam. I have one question and one highlight and one concern to report to this roundtable. The question is based on my observation of a strange phenomena in Asian community in Spokane. Nowadays, Asian-based community organizations work hard to be visible in the larger community. The only difference lies in the visibilities differences. One is visible in community accessible places, in the commons, in downtown. Everyone is welcome and no entrance fee. Another one is visible in prestigious venues like theater or club. Admission fee is not free. One type always raises poignant questions. For example, ICE violating citizens and immigrants' civil rights, holding police and government accountable. The another type is centering on cultural performances to display happy, carefree images of immigrants. Doesn't want to acknowledge that racism even exists. The mentality seems like, let us get drunk while there is still wine today. Thinking as a minority to confront is useless. To assimilate is the best choice. I also observe the first type who raises awareness of the erased history of ANHPI, civic participation, advocates for LGBTQ plus rights, has those executive directors get paid, not just a volunteer to be leaders. The second type, which successfully enhances the image of the model minority, is led by volunteers, no pay. So it's more like developing their personal hobbies and talents into big scale events to appear spectacular and bustling on the stage. I wonder is that the operational model differences determine the two contrasted organizational behaviors. I certainly want to tie my confusion to an action item. Which kind of organization CAPAA will support if they apply for CAPAA's mini grant? Second one is the highlight in my community is the inclusive education has created immediate ripples in my students, no matter they're 18 or 74 years old. I teach sociology in a community college in Spokane. Students point out that including AA and NHPI history in K-12 curriculum benefits all students, not just AA and NHPI students. Having AA and NHPI history taught will make white students look at their ancestors and themselves from lens of AA and NHPI history. And AA and NHPI students can get a break from having to so often observe themselves through the perspective of another. So this encourages empathy and awareness. The third is my concern. I have already expressed that just now, that Chinese immigrants in Spokane find it hard to seek help when they were treated with hostility in the court or by police. It's hard to find the instrumental helps. The websites of organizations are there, but nobody really follow up. We need on-the-ground resources that can give helping hand for these suffering Chinese immigrants. Yeah, I just think that if CAPAA can be a resource for these issues, that would be great. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ping. And thank you for the really thoughtful analysis that you've provided there, especially in your in Spokane County in particular. So thank you. Um, I see Commissioner Lehrman on my screen. Commissioner Lehrman, would you like to go? And if we can try
Sure.
to keep it under 3 minutes, that would be great.
All right. 3 minutes. Got
Yeah,
it.
thank you.
Two wins. I know you say one there. One is that my wife and I have been initiating AAPI recognition at our Pasco City Council meetings. So having them read a proclamation similar to what Commissioner X said, at the state level. And then we try to get local community members, AA and HPI, to show up and be part of that proclamation and be recognized. And Commissioner Fonsa can share too, but he was there as well as other members for the community. So that was a win. And then a second one is I was able to go to my wife Kim is a teacher at our local high school, Chihuahua High School, largest high school in the state. She's a leader for the an advisor for the AA and HPI club and the international club as well. And they did their first year of Colors of the World, and they invited community organizations and students and families to create boards throughout the hallways and come in, invited community members to come in for an evening and learn about these AA and HPI and other anybody was welcome to put a board out there, but just to learn about the diversity that we have in our community. I saw student boards and community boards, and I went around and tried to talk to as many of them as I could from Burma, Thailand, Japan, Korea, Hawaii, Hawaiian, Samoan, Tongan, Filipino, Chinese, Lao, India, and all of these people that were sharing, and all of the people that went to learn were also treated to cultural. After the boards were all looked at, everybody went into the auditorium, and there were cultural performances from a number of these AA and NHPI groups as well. So just a way to spread the word and to have community organization, lots of diversity there. So those were the wins. And then a challenge that I continue to see, it's just not a one-time thing, is it ties back to what we talked about in our Padlet and our exercise right there, is getting language access and getting dollars and getting additional supports to our families, and also to continue to disaggregate the data where we need to so that we can see which people need that. An example, serve on the school board here in Pasco. When we get the data, I saw some of these presentations the last couple months, is we see disaggregated down to AA and HPI, and they say the data will say they're doing just as well or better than English speaking, the white disaggregated data. So we don't need to give dollars there, but we all know that that's not true across the board. There are pockets and groups that need more language assistance or need more tutoring or need more assistance in not just our educational realm, but in our community realm. And so continuing to disaggregate that data and continuing to try and advocate for funneling of those dollars to the areas that they need to go continues to be a challenge for us all, I think, at the state and local levels. So that's my time. Thank you, Kendall.
Thank you, Commissioner Lehrman. How about Commissioner Fonsa?
Hello. Let's see. A win was at the Kennewick Lao Temple. We had in the state, they coordinate, all the temples coordinate when they have their Lao New Year celebrations. And in Kennewick, we are the last one to do the celebration. So that was on Memorial Day weekend. And it happened to be a really great event. It was probably the biggest in the state of attendance. Um, and so just growing and growing every year. And they are really encouraging me to be on the board to help them organize with my experience and connection to the community. In my work, I work for Port of Kennewick and I do the events and marketing there. And so they really want me to come on board and help. The challenge is to connect the event with the general community in Tri Cities. Um, we are listed on Visit Tri Cities right now as an event yearly, and there was one news reporter who came, and so just helping them with things like a press release and connecting them with the general community. And so I think I'm planning to go on the board and help plan next year's event, and get things more formalized, um, and connecting them with the community. So that's a good challenge and a good problem to have. And I want to start more community events there at our temple. So I am planning to lead a cooking class in August at our temple, which will be open to the public, and doing a Lao traditional dish. So, and ex sister who also lives in Tri Cities, she has a podcast, and we are hosting one of her podcast events at the temple as well. So, helping her get that going and make it open to the public and a great community event to come and be involved in the podcast. So, just a few of the things that I'm working on.
Thank you, Commissioner Fongsa. I see Commissioner uh Commissioner Cho, would you like to go?
Yeah, thanks so much. I think a big win for our community was obviously May, Heritage Month. I, for one, was able to participate in a lot of festivities and celebrations of our community. It's always a great time to be in community to celebrate our heritage in this country. Also, more recent, but as you all know, the World Cup is in town, and I'm reminded how something like a sporting event can really bring communities together. Um, you know, our communities rooting for our respective teams, and communities rooting for each other, and spending a lot of time together. On Thursday, the Korea team played with Mexico, and we had K Fest at the Seattle Center. And it wasn't just for Koreans. There were a lot of Mexican fans who came out to K Fest. And so for the first time, I saw Mexicans and Koreans kind of celebrating with each other, watching the game, but being friendly. I'm sure many of you have seen the viral videos of Korean fans in Mexico going viral, and so it's just been really great to see that solidarity and that community, um, uh, you know, camaraderie, I would say. As far as challenges, I continue to get a lot of inquiries about immigration and whether or not it's safe to travel internationally. I think that feedback or those questions are disproportionately coming towards me because obviously, as you all know, I serve as the commissioner at the port and we run the airport. And so a lot of members of the community consistently reach out to me about what's the situation at the airport. Is ICE at the airport? Do I need to do X, Y, and Z? And so it's very clear to me that despite the whole ICE situation kind of simmering down in the mainstream media, it still continues to linger in the minds of those in our community who are fearful of immigration enforcement. So I think it's very important for us to continue to point the spotlight on that issue, even if it's not being covered by the mainstream media. And so I'll stop there, but those are some of my thoughts.
Thank you, Commissioner Cho. What about Commissioner Delio?
Hi, everybody. Apologies for being off camera. I've been a little under the weather this week. But I would say successes since March. There's been some really great synergy around maternal health and maternal mental health, specifically for our communities that we've really have been very encouraging. And there's been a lot of increased partnership with some of our other Indigenous community-based organizations towards that end because a lot of the health disparities from NHPI birthing moms are unfortunately very similar to a lot of our other Indigenous cousins. And so we were really grateful to be invited to participate by the Washington State Public Health Association, had a maternal mental health roundtable on May 29th that was facilitated by Jan Marie Ward, who's also a member of the Health Equity Council that CAPAA sits on, and some other representatives that are and clinicians and providers across our community, including Dr. Tara Lawal with the Rainier Valley Birth Center, who was able to give some good insights into some of the critical needs that are impacting our NHPI moms right now. And then that dovetailed really nicely with the 2026 Pacifica Health Summit that was held by Family Ways and the Hummingbird Indigenous organization and Seattle King County Public Health and Federal Way in May as well. And then another win, I would consider this, although it's still very early on in my onboarding to the Active Transportation Safety Council Commission on behalf of the CAPAA Commission. I'll be participating on this council moving forward every month, and look forward to just being able to identify some of the intersections around areas that our communities are being directly impacted through, both safety concerns for pedestrians and non-motor vehicle transportation. But I think as we continue to expand a lot of the public transportation access points that our communities need to be able to get to work and school and just daily functions, that I'm really interested to see how that what that looks like for our communities on the ground, and what those concerns are, and how we can best represent those voices in that space as well. One of the areas that I would say is keeping me up right now is our higher ed space, and specifically Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander higher ed students, that are their experience for those that are in our 4 and 2-year institutions here in Washington State. Have had the opportunity to connect directly with some of the NHPI student-led bodies, both here in Whatcom County as well as in Seattle, and just hearing across the board that there is not just a concerns around attendance, and not attendance, but acceptance rates have declined, and we know that that funding resources for students remains a really prominent issue for our community. But even for the students that are attending those institutions right now, the visibility and the resources and staff support for them has declined significantly, even just in the last year or two. What we have heard from the Western Washington University had a Pacific Islander student coalition there, and they've unfortunately had to pause because they just do not have the support, or really I would call it really a lot of mentorship and guidance. And so we've tried to figure out ways to supplement that for them outside of the institution. But a lot of these students are just trying to figure out how to navigate and stay in school and focus on their academic pursuits and status. And so, having to kind of think outside of the box is difficult at times. And we're also hearing similar things echoed from the Micronesian Islander Student Coalition at University of Washington, and the Polynesian Student Alliance there as well. There used to be a Pacifica Pathways program that was dedicated to specifically helping Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander students, recruiting and helping them get into UW, and that has unfortunately been defunded. And then for the student bodies that do remain and are doing an exceptional job at just kind of keeping the lights on for other students, they're having to pay for just time to use even the university's conference rooms and other event spaces just to host meetings. Many of them just do not have the out-of-pocket funds available to them. And so trying to help get them some funding resource support from outside of the university to keep that going has been a priority. That's my end of report. Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks for all your work. Um, and let's see, Commissioner Sisavati, would you like to go?
Hi, I'm here at my dropping off my mother-in-law and her dialysis, so I'm not going to be on video. But yes, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Um, Lots of wins. Yeah. Mother-in-law is doing well. She was folks didn't know, but she was hospitalized for almost a month, and she's AKI, so she's got um, temporary kidney failure. So that's she's doing really well. So we're really over the moon on that. And my niece got married during Memorial Day weekend, so that's a win. And make us visible is going strong. Students, it's incredible just kind of see the love and support of community and seeing the youth being involved the way they are. So grateful for that. And of course, I'll echo the World Cup. It's incredible just to be in the vibes. I was over there yesterday, just walking around. Couldn't score any tickets because I can't afford them. But just being in the same vicinity, walking around, just enjoying, the vibes was just another level. So appreciate that. Uh, Something that we are working towards. So with the situation, on ground level with ICE and the Lao community, few of us got together on, I think it was like May 15th or one of the weekends. There was a Lao organization called RootsLaos.org, and they are on ground level in Laos. They reached out to me and asked to, connect with the community members here, just kind of level set uh, where we're at. And the director actually came over and put together a group of Lao community members, and we met over at the Lao Temple in Kenyon Street over in Seattle, and just kind of discussed. We also, brought in former Commissioner Sina Sam, who came and kind of shared what the CAPAA community was doing. They've been, on this for decades. And so from there, we decided to kind of do a group, kind of rapid response. And we meet weekly, just kind of see where we're at as a community, where the needs are, what organizations, and so that's going well. And we're hoping to, we're hoping to grow the community a little more. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, and best wishes to your mother-in-law, Ek. Just deep, deep compassion to you as well. So, um, I think we have two more, which is Second Vice Chair Leasing. Would you like to go?
Yes, thanks. I actually have two wins that I'm going to report out instead of one challenge, one
That's
win.
totally okay.
Feel
All
like I
good.
could use some good news. Back in April, Filipino green card holder Jeffy Sola was detained in Alaska and then moved over to the detention center in Tacoma. Earlier this month, the judge ruled that there was no legal basis to deport him, and yet he was still being held in the detention center. So shout out to Tanggol Migrante, who mobilized folks and raised visibility, reached out to elected officials, reached out to the Philippine consulate, and because of their advocacy, they were able to get Kuya Jeff released last week. So that was really awesome to see him be able to be reunited with his son. The second win was actually Chinatown International District organized a Guinness World Record attempt for the largest dim sum meal, which my family and I participated in. And so as of Thursday, Seattle is now the Guinness World Record holder for the largest dim sum meal. So that was pretty awesome.
Thank you. Um, and then last but not least, our Vice Chair, Commissioner McKenna.
Yeah, thank you. I almost wish Anna would have gone before me because I feel like I have more grim news, but maybe Kendall, you can wrap us up with some more positive. I feel like I think if there's a win, it's that our communities continue to persist through all of the challenges that are thrown their way, and that all of our community-based organizations continue to make a lot out of very, very little in terms of resources. I think in that case, the last few months have been incredibly difficult. It is very, very hard to be on the ground right now, serving community, listening to them, and then trying to advocate in a system that is very, very scarce, both in mentality and also, as we know, it's quite literally the situation right now that we're operating in massive deficits everywhere, and there's increased competition for even other private funding that might help support community-based organizations. So it has been very bleak. I feel like we're feeling a lot of the impacts of HR1 already, which for those of you that might not know what that is, that's the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, which continues to have impacts and will continue to have impacts. So I think there's a lot of folks that are doing their best to stay aware and informed about what those continuous cuts are going to be looking like for our communities. But it's been very, very challenging. I think a couple of the things that I want to just raise, we are definitely looking at civic engagement and community activation and mobilization around the upcoming election, which might feel really far away right now, but is not that far away. And I do want to kind of give some time to talk about the anti, what folks are calling anti-trans. They're really just very hateful anti-woman, anti-trans bills that have been introduced by Brian Haywood, which we'll see on the November ballot. Um, I will drop some information in the chat for folks that would like to look further into this. One of the bills specifically will require all people that identify as girls to receive a genital examination if they would like to engage in any type of sport activity. As we know, that leads to very, very high amounts of sexual misconduct and harassment and molestation for young girls. And I think we can really recognize these flaws, unfortunately, in the way that we not only accept people, but also treat anybody in our community that's marginalized. This bill will reach a lot of people if it's passed, and it's incredibly hateful. And I think trans people continue to be the scapegoats for a lot of this hate, not only towards queer people, but also towards women. And so I want to just raise those up. And, there's a really great coalition working right now called No Hate in Washington to help mobilize people. And so that's probably the resource that if you would like to go get involved, if you would like your organization if you would like your organization to sign on to their endorsement letter that essentially says we do not support these hateful bills, I would encourage you all that way. But please send a lot of love to especially all of our queer and trans serving organizations. Send your resources. They are leading the way and also experiencing the biggest hits as far as the resources. So it's been a very, very hard few months. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm very burnt out myself. And I think our communities are very, very tired. But as we continue to joke, the horrors persist, but so do we. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair McKenna. Thank you, and of course, thank you for your continued work on that, and thank you for elevating the issues that will definitely be on the November ballot, unfortunately, and how we need to be responsive to fighting back against hate. So, I think I'm going to just give my quick one. So I'll start my the challenge, and then I'll go to the positive or the win. So the challenge is that I received a memo a couple weeks ago that the OFM had sent out their instructions around budget requests for 2027. And the outlook is not so good. And they're asking that the budget request should only focus on mandatory increases, avoid expanding existing programs and services, and include significant ongoing reduction options, because the budget outlook is just not great. But so that obviously means that there's a lot of defense that needs to be played next year. That it feels like it's still half a year away, but it's going to come quickly, and we need to be ready to respond to ensure that our community's priorities are up front and center and protected, because a lot of these new funding requests or existing funding requests are going to face a very high bar. So it's a big challenge that I think we're going to be facing here in the next couple of months. In terms of the win, I do feel I just want to give a special shout out to Commissioner Cho, I think, who is on the host committee for the World Cup here in Seattle, and just seeing the community that's been built is pretty incredible. There's a lot of things being funneled into the CID. In particular, I'll be going later today to Nihon Machi, which has their like a pop-up event this today, as well as Filipino American Heritage Night at the Mariners game tonight as well. So there's a lot of great things that are happening in our communities that show resilience and celebration and community. And I'm just really just so excited that we're finding opportunities to do so. So that's my big win, is just thanks for the work again to ensure that our communities are included in this larger celebration. It's not perfect, but I think we're doing our best to ensure that our communities are uplifted in a lot of ways. So thank you. Okay, so that concludes our commissioner roundtable, our updates. I'd like to take maybe a couple seconds. I give a couple of seconds to Commissioner Ping and Commissioner Sisavati. I think this is your last meeting, both of your last meetings. Is this right? Okay, yes, staff confirms this is your last meeting. So maybe Commissioner Ping, if you want to say a couple words, like departing words and words of wisdom, before we see you off on your journey beyond CAPAA as a Commissioner Emeritus. Anything you want to say, Commissioner Ping?
Yeah, it's very hard to say this kind of the farewell words. I just want to say I really I feel I grow a lot in this commission through the past 6 years. We started as in the COVID time, so the first maybe 1 or 2 years was in the Zoom meeting only, and different ED. That time was ED Hasagawa, Toshiko Hasagawa, and then was one among our commissioners. So we had a lot of the very vibrant time. I remember I was invited to Chinatown International District to support to keep the Chinatown in 2020. Is that 22? And them and another senator who also is from Vietnamese American background, and Kendall, we were there to speak up. So we have quite a few memories of the fighting for keeping our heritage, the history of the international district in Seattle, and we also have the many meetings, memories. I kind of have sent farewell to see some commissioners took off, and now it's my turn. So it's really a very mixture feeling. But the main reason I need to take off is because my mom is in China and she's very alone and she has dementia. My dad passed away in last 2025 in January. So my mom still is very hard to be living with herself, and she needs me and my younger sister to be accompanied with her as much as possible. So I just feel if I cannot be here in the summer and then I came back in September, I don't have much to report. I think that's a waste of my position. So I think someone can do a better job. And I just decide to take off. And I would definitely, yeah. And then we have Nan becoming an interim ED, leading us these 2 years. Yeah, it's hard to believe that 2 years just quickly passed. And then created many good things for good formats of the meeting, like the one challenge, one celebration to report to the roundtable. I will really miss the roundtable session because that's where I can hear from all of our 11 other commissioners that is our roundtable to let me know the whole state well-being. So I hope this could be kept as a tradition every time. Don't miss this part. This is very important for commissioners to listen to each other and to understand each other better in the personal and the local county level. Just yeah, I really really want to thank everyone that I learned things from you, and I will miss you very dearly. Just and hope you can keep your positive energy even in the dark time. Now is the dark time, but as long as we are together, then the minority could be the majority. So I believe we are such a majority in the Washington state, and I hope you can keep doing wonderful things and have a great strategic plan to empower our community and to change some status quo to make some real difference in the next 5 years. Okay, I have spoken too much, so
No, you're all good. Thank you, Commissioner Ping, and thank you for your service and your time. And we'll find an opportunity to celebrate your time in the commission in some form or capacity beyond this meeting. But I just wanted to at least give you some space to say a few words. So, and then of course, Commissioner Sisavati, who's probably the longest serving commissioner here. So wanted to give you a couple of seconds here in case you want to just say anything. No pressure if you don't want to, but yes, I know you're in transit here.
I just parked, so I am good. I am good. Wow. Yeah, 9 years, 9 years. I'm just so grateful, to really be serving my neighbors. I mean, at the end of the day, anyone that's close in proximity, that's who we reach out and try to, listen to and give.
Oh no. I'm back, Ek. Okay. We will we'll wait a couple of seconds. But
It's just so beautiful.
oh hello, Ek.
Can you hear me?
Welcome back. Yep, you're good. You're good.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, oh, I was just saying, I've our stories are forever connected, and my story is connected to CAPAA and all of you. Um, and I'm so grateful and privileged to walk beside you doing this work together and giving what we have and what we can to the communities we love. Um, you know, it's it's a neighborhood thing, right? I mean, we stretch out, we give, we listen to our neighbors, and uh, you and this is all volunteering. I mean, that's the beauty, and the challenge is we didn't have to. We don't have to go any additional step further than that, than anything, and we do, and we continue to do that. And so, it's again, it's a beautiful story that I feel like I'm not leaving, but this chapter at least officially, as a commissioner, terming out, and I could have been here and would have loved to be here forever. But it is what it is. Damn policies. uh, so I will just part by saying thank you to Nam, interim ED, to Brenda, to Nagin, the staff. You guys rock it, and our commissioners love you all, man. And we'll see each other around. And I'm gonna lean on you because that's what you guys are there for now. Uh, and of course, couldn't do any of this work without the support of my family, my beautiful wife, my mom, my mother-in-law, and my siblings, friends, and of course, uh, this is about community. And so, so long as we understand what that means, and we grow within it, we'll be here for each other. So I'm here for you. Thank you all. Peace out.
Thank you, Commissioner Sisavati, and thank you, Commissioner Ping, again. Um, your contributions have been so critical to the CAPAA, and we're just so grateful. And like I said before, we'll find an opportunity to celebrate and get together here in the near future to about for your tenure at CAPAA. And so just thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So on that note, just a couple housekeeping items. So our next meeting is in Tri-Cities in September. So be on the lookout for more information about that. Please continue to share with your networks the survey, the CAPAA commissioner applications, as well as the CAPAA executive director position posting as well. So those are your three kind of readouts. And then just lastly, it was brought up earlier, but I want to just encourage folks, commissioners, to continue to reach out to communities, reach out to community leaders that you have not met with, or are looking to build a connection with. And I think that is something that I'm hoping folks can really embrace as commissioner, and hoping to hear at the next meeting about those meetings and those connections as well. So get those paper surveys mailed in by July 10th, and just deep appreciation to all. Thank you to the staff, and thank you to the public who is also here as well. So without further ado, can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, I need a second.
I passionately second.
Is there any discussion? I hope there's not. Okay, I mean, not all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carries. We are adjourned at 11:51. Everyone go enjoy your weekend, and talk to you all soon. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.